simply put, the contractor that comes into your property, or the designer, or even an architect, it is completely up to them what they think the price should be. There's no standard. There's no breakdown. It's like 17% of projects actually have a written, broken down, line by line itinerary of what's going in to the work. Like, that's crazy. And before construction, I came from, I have a business background. I was in management consulting, and it's like, whoa, everything just went from extreme structures to mid structures to no structure whatsoever. That bothered me. But there's no base. So you need to have your own pricing sheets before you go out and you sub things out. Or you are going to do all the work and you just throw a number out there in terms of how long you think it's going to take and what you think you should be paid for this job. And the reality is that that's not how it should be. Most of the time, the inputs to a project are fixed. It's the last thing that you said, which is the markup, or how much do I think I can make on this project, where the discrepancy comes into play. And that's where a lot of the times there are problems. That's why there's really low levels of trust in this space, and there are no transparency, and why companies will batch everything together into one price point. The less information they provide to you, the less information you have to argue on the price. Renotag is not in the best interest of a contractor. The best interest of a contractor of today is to try to give you as little information as possible so that they can maintain their business. I'll make it a little more clear. The business of general contracting is one where you sub out to specific types of work and you make the spread in between.
Yeah, you're project manager.
You're a project manager. That as a business is what we are trying to replace.
Welcome to Supply and Demand with Adam Nadler. This is a podcast dedicated to the real estate market in Canada, available now on YouTube, Apple Music, and Spotify. David Rozenfeld, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast. Tell everybody a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I'm a founder and CEO at Renotag. I am a creative person, a fixer, maybe trying to build the future in some ways. Kind of what I do.
A fixer that has the assumption that there's a problem. What's the problem that you see right now?
Yeah, I mean, there are many problems. With Renotag specifically, kind of why we're here today with Renotag specifically. I mean, I've been a contractor for many years, and I saw a really big problem. And that problem is that there's no price transparency in the space.
For what?
For projects.
For renovations?
Yeah, projects, any type actually. Everything from building a new house to fixing your floors. There's really no price transparency. And it's been like this forever. As long as this industry has existed, but it's slowly changing with access to information on the web. People can go online and can find certain things out. But even today, if you get a contractor to come to your house and say, Adam, if you want to do a kitchen renovation, and you get a contractor to come to your house, they would, one guy would give you $50,000 and one guy would say $15,000. And how do you know which one's correct? How do you know which one's accurate? And that's really what we wanted to fix for ourselves. And that's kind of where I started with Renotag in the first place, creating an engine that will do the base work for us, that will calculate out what the cost of a project should be with as quickly as possible and as accurately as possible with as little input as possible. And it's really the key here. And that's kind of what we do at Renotag. The same way that if you were to get a credit report, say for a potential, loan, right? If you're going to get a mortgage, or if you were to buy a new car or a used car and you want to see what's going on with the car, you get a car fax, right? So we're building the same thing for renovations, and that's really what Renotag does. It gives you a quote for a project in a couple seconds.
So walk me through this. Someone goes on renotag.com.
Yeah.
How do they get their quote? And where does it come from?
Yeah. So simply put, you would create your account on renotag.com. Once you are set up on the system, you simply add an address and the system does all the work. Our estimator will pull up the price of products based off of your location and based off of the selections that you make for your project, and it'll pull up the local labor rates for the project, calculate everything for you the same way that a contractor would do, and then present that to you with full breakdown of your project, line by line, all the things that need to happen. Yeah, that's kind of works, and it's free, which is the best part about it.
How do you price for labor? That because that seems like it's the biggest question mark.
It is the big question mark, and it is the part of the long-term play, and that's why it took us almost 2 years now to be putting all of this together with all the research. But we do all the back end components for this, from labor costing to material costing. Our system pulls all of it together for you.
So how would a consumer then take that and go to a contractor with labor priced in for the contractor? I mean, explain that to me. How does that work?
Sure. Yeah. Every contractor is going to have a different price point, right? And the reason for it is simply because they either have a variable labor rate themselves. Maybe one guy has a general worker that will do something for $25 an hour, and another guy pays $40 an hour for the same guy. And that's one reason as to why a contractor would give you a different price point. Or maybe the contractor thinks that he can charge you more because he sees you live in a nice house, right? But at the end of the day, the contractor is going to have what they think that they can price the project for, and then there's what the actual project should cost according to what the market rate is. So that's the key thing there, right? We don't play the contractor. We are not the contractor. We are giving the transparency and the trust that needs to be there for the purchaser, for the person that is going to do the renovation.
And how do you even determine what base rates are in an area?
Yeah, it's a good question. This is part of the magic of what we do. Yeah, I mean, you could try it out for yourself, and you can see it for yourself, and you'll be able to experience the magic of the tool.
The magical algorithms behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's kind of how it is. I mean, maybe a year ago, people didn't have access to the big engines, right? Just look at what's going on now with companies like OpenAI, with things like DALL-E or Midjourney for image generation, or OpenAI's GPT models, right? You can go on ChatGPT and get a full business plan if you want it to done for you within a couple strokes of some keys. And we're doing the same thing for renovations.
So are you guys using an OpenAI API?
No, we build our own engines. We everything is built in-house. Everything is done by us.
And to what geographical spans would Renotag cover? Like, are we talking anywhere in Canada?
Yeah, right now everywhere in Canada.
What about the States?
We just started to expand into we're in California and New York, and I'm looking at Florida as well. I think Florida is a cool place to be. Lots of condos there, and a lot of them are old. It's lots of people looking to do renovations there. So, yeah.
So in terms of the base rate calculations for cost of labor and materials, where are you getting that information? Is it all based on the local market for materials? Because, if you're pricing out a project in Florida, that's going to be way different than the price of something in Toronto. How do you guys determine that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's the secret sauce of the system.
You heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. He won't tell me. He's got the secret sauce, and he's keeping it secret. So, how I guess active are people on the site right now? Is it more end users? Is it more contractors themselves?
Yeah. Right now we are It's a good question. We actually started this as a tool for just homeowners. We had like in our first month, we had like 300 people make projects and then make more projects. And then we actually opened up our engines a little bit more so contractors can add their own price points, their own labor rates to it under a tier called Renotag Advanced. We built that to about 500 contractors, but now we focused to do specifically the direct to the consumer approach. We have quite a few thousand people using it now. Every day there are projects just popping up in the system. People are using it right now primarily in Canada, and we're going to be doing a bigger expansion into the States soon.
People who are watching a lot of HGTV, are you finding that this is like kind of where there's maybe an incongruency or disconnect with how people are viewing Renotag and the results that Renotag is spitting out for them? Because, I mean, look, like you watch Property Brothers, it seems like every wall they're smashing into has asbestos in it, and there's like a violin screeching or like a, record needle skipping, and then all of a sudden we go to commercial. What's the difference between the actual congruency of what people believe something is going to cost and what it is actually costing on Renotag? Is there a difference?
I think projects are dependent on property and also on what the person wants. If they want to knock down a wall, that requires most of the time a structural engineer, and it's quite an advanced type of project. The things that you see on TV are also TB. It's not necessarily how a construction project goes. There are times that there's asbestos. I mean, I've been on projects, especially in Toronto, where there is asbestos in the walls, and you gotta clean that up before you do anything else. But that's really something that happens after the fact. Like most of the time, when you get a quote from a contractor, they don't really know what's going on behind the walls. They don't know until they start the work. And a contractor will price that into the project. They will say, here are the contingencies, and it's called allowance items. So if we're going to break this wall down, we're going to start with engineering, and the structural engineer is going to tell us, well, if we want to put a steel beam here, or maybe a post somewhere as a retainer, however the case is for the specific project, and you kind of take it from there.
Talk to me about allowances. Like what does that look like, and how does that conversation normally, I mean, you used to have those conversations with people.
Yeah.
How does that conversation normally go?
It really depends on the budget of the person that wants to do the project. So for example, the way that we address it in Renotag is we don't say allowance. We instead tell you exactly what the material is. Like, here's the link back to the material that we're using for this project. And if you want a more expensive material, we'll find you a more expensive material. And the engine goes out, finds another product, fills that space. So you can change things from, let's say, an MDF kitchen cabinet to a thermofoil kitchen cabinet, which are just quality types of cabinets in the way that they're made. And it will populate that for you. Now, I mean, if you don't know specifically what the price points of certain things are, but you can at least shop knowing the styles that you like. And those are the kind of features that we're building out over the next several months.
How do you know if you're on Renotag that you're getting the cheapest price for the materials?
You don't. That's actually, it's a really good point. When you build a project, the contractor, for example, will say to you, okay, we're going to put in $1.50 per square foot for some vinyl flooring. And that's the allowance. And if your room is 1,000 square feet, you have your budget. But now we need to make sure that we either are within that budget for the material purchases, or we're over that, whatever that case is. That actually ends up being the homeowner's choice. So if the homeowner says, I want this type of floor versus that type of floor, it comes at a cost. So you can either have savings in the project, or it can be more expensive, right? What it comes down to is, how do we make that as efficient as possible? So you don't need to go through that. And that's really the kind of features and the kind of tools that we're looking to build into Renotag. So you can really feel like a personalized renovation shopping experience online. And that's really what I believe homeowners want. And that's really what our users are telling us they want, so that they can have the breakdown of what their project's going to look like beforehand, and not have to go through all the hidden costs that are normal in construction, especially in renovations. And yeah.
So big asterisks, this is a tool that's really helpful, and it's going to help people get an idea of what something's going to cost. But big asterisks, if you're, breaking down walls in a home that was built in the 60s, that has aluminum wiring everywhere, you're going to incur extra costs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's always unforeseen things. Like I was driving the other day and I got a nail in my tire. It doesn't come put into the price of the car when I bought it, but it definitely does come at an additional price to me. And those kind of unforeseen things do happen. But that's really beyond the point, and that's beyond the scope of what Renotag is, what our goal is. Really, we want to challenge the status quo of what is a home renovation. We want to bring that trust and transparency to the user, and that's what we're doing. We're providing the user a breakdown of here's your baseline of what your project should cost. And the more we can make that useful to the user, the more we can personalize that based off of their selections. If, say, a user wants a darker colored tile with a nice white vein going through it, then we should be able to provide that to them. And now we've started to do that. We started working with specific suppliers, so we can start onboarding the suppliers' inventory into the system and get them to the point where the homeowner can have an accurate quote, as accurate as possible to what the project should be. The last real step will be, how do we connect the labor rates of the individual contractor into this? And that's beyond the scope of what we are. We're looking to give you the baseline, the price of what the product should be, and have that available to you at the fingertips, the same way that you could get a Google search done for you within a couple seconds.
And how many suppliers do you guys have right now?
It's a great question. We have tens of thousands of SKUs of products in the system.
Okay. And if it tells me to go shopping somewhere, where's it going to send me?
It doesn't tell you to go shopping anywhere. It pulls a specific product for you based off of what it thinks you could use. And if you like that product, great. I mean, we're not saying you have to use this. It's Renotag will just simply say, here's a product that I used to calculate this quote. So if it's a tile, it'll say, here's a specific tile. You can see the product that's being referenced inside the system. And you can go to the website and see the same information that's being used in Renotag. So there's full transparency on the pricing and all of that. Yep. And the more accurate we can make that by bringing in more products into the system, more types of line items, more types of different work, like breaking down walls, for example. That would be really cool. And we'll get there. The more we can get there is the better for the user.
A game that my girlfriend absolutely loves and has always loved is The Sims.
Yeah.
What are the chances that you guys can replicate some kind of ability to design, even in a basic sense, with a grid and kind of map out? Because on every site, like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, they're selling you, they have dimensions of everything. I mean, technically, wouldn't that be like the ultimate kind of thing, is like actually design your kitchen and we'll tell you exactly how much it's going to cost?
Yeah. I think the days of the old internet are coming to be.
What do you mean?
The way that people interacted with the internet before required a lot of insight and experience and just know-how in the general sense. We're not building Renotag for that, where you can kind of like do the full design. I strongly believe that the way that will be done is, hey Siri, I want to renovate my kitchen. For example, if you're an Apple user, she'll say sure, and you will be able to snap a picture of your kitchen, and all you need to do is say, I want that color, this style, maybe this brand, and it will do all the heavy lifting for you. Provide the floor plan, provide the actual render of how it should look like. And all of this is possible, thankfully, to the new developments in the space of AI. And our engine powers that. And the more that we build it, the more we see that. the more interest we're getting from not only the material suppliers, but also all kinds of different companies looking to integrate this into their process. But that's really how it will be. The kind of like two thumbs approach, like Elon Musk says, where we think at a specific speed, but we can only input with two thumbs. That's a limiter. If the system can do the processing for you, that removes that. And that's really the goal. That's what we're striving toward.
So I guess talk to me about a little bit about your thoughts on the next phase of the internet, Web3 and AI in general, because you're already on the cutting edge of it yourself, kind of building a platform.
Yep.
You're saying that humans ourselves will want less input?
Have you used ChatGPT?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, I love ChatGPT. I'm a subscriber. The benefit of ChatGPT is not having to do the research yourself. That's why you use it, because it tells you what you want. You don't need to go into Google and search and then find by recommended options and go through 100 different links to figure out what the information is. I do believe that people don't want to do that work. I think that that's just a standard that's been set. The easier it is, the better it is. And for example, one thing we've seen in the renovation space is companies like Renovate AI, I think it's called that, where you take a picture of a room and then it just remakes that room in a style, and it uses Midjourney's API. Well, that's cool, and people even pay for that, but it's not useful beyond the picture. And the people that use those kind of tools, all they're really indicating is that, yeah, I want the design to be done for me based off of a style or based off of a preference. The more that can be dialed in, the better the output of the tool.
Well, couldn't you guys also kind of just, I guess...
We are.
Yeah, like, because I was thinking, Midjourney is amazing. And, well, it's amazing in conceptually. I think that, like, the prompting end of it can be cumbersome. But overall, the concept of, hey, here's my kitchen, redo it.
Yeah.
Give it some basic prompts of color and layout, I guess. Wouldn't your AI eventually be able to, I guess, analyze a picture like that and then match it to whatever items that it has in its inventory lexicon and kind of like create it and then give you a quote on it?
Yeah. That's what we do. The first version of our tool is called Quick Estimator, and it's just, I want to do a kitchen. What do you want to do in the kitchen? You'll want to select backsplash, countertops, cabinets, and maybe some flooring, and then it says, okay, what's the size of your kitchen? And it pulls recommendations for you. What I'm referencing as the secret sauce before are the engines that run this. Those engines are very powerful, and it requires a lot of work. That is what Renotag is. We're an estimator AI. And the way that we build that out will absolutely be plug and played with some of the other AI company APIs, where you can just generate a picture. We have the means of doing that now, but really what comes down to is making our engines as great as possible. The better our engines, the more potential there is to help somebody build their project. And really that's the focus, rather than trying to compete out with these other companies to do the generation of the pictures and all of that. It'll be a plug and play. And I see that in maybe a year's time.
A year? That's it?
Yeah. About a year's time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. I
think it's an amazing tool, clearly, because I know when I'm walking through a house and I need to bring my stager through, preparing it for sale and things like that. I've done it enough times where I kind of know what it should look like and kind of what it will look like by the end of it. So will my stager.
Yeah.
consumers, on the other hand, have problems visualizing things. So in order to kind of create that visual representation as an aid or a guide, can also, in a sense, build trust, because you're able to contextualize things for our silly little human brains that can't conceive of it.
The challenge is the knowledge. When people, like, I have an idea of what I want, I don't know what I want. So that's why I hire somebody to give me what I want. That's why I hire a interior designer or a contractor, because I have a vision and I want to get there, but I don't know how to build the vehicle to get there, or I don't have the vehicle to get there. And with every service-based business, the more accessibility there is, the less that's required from the service, and more that's required, and less that's required from the user as an input point, right? So you can say, I want, a dark kind of style room with brick veneer and like the black metal or the black iron finishes and a nice wood finish, right? And if I can say that to a system, the system has to make sense of that. It's like called tagging, and using that in points of information, it can create an output, and the throughput is the key point. The more information there is in the throughput, the better the system is in the throughput.
So how do you
better the output?
How do you add more throughput?
That is the challenge with every AI company today. That is what everyone builds. It's the engines that power it, the data that powers it, the access points, who you're working with, how much time and effort goes into building the system itself.
Right. That's why OpenAI created Whisper. They ran out of text. They needed more input, right? More gasoline in the engine, and that kind of created voice to text. So how do you guys?
I'll tell you, we're
how do you consume it all?
Yeah, we're working now with some of the largest suppliers of materials in North America. They have massive SKUs. They sell to the distributors that people end up buying from.
So like Home Depot, Lowe's.
So and more like the Olympia Tiles of the world. That's like the biggest tile supplier in Canada. The MSIs was the biggest supplier in the States. And we're actively looking to build relationships with those companies, because when they have a new product SKU, we can digitize that SKU and put it into an engine that can handle that can create the outputs, like the quote, like the visualization, all of that. And that is a beautiful thing. We're working towards making it as simple as possible, so it can be, hopefully within a couple months, as simple as, here's my output, and our system can just pull that in. Right now there's human intervention, so we are actively going in and making sure that the product, let's say a specific tile, has all the data points necessary to be able to be used in a project. It's a key thing. Yeah,
it seems like a huge obstacle.
It's why these kind of things take a long time. Like a baseboard over here, we need to know the profile of the baseboard, the thickness, the height, and the length of one unit, and then also the colors, the installation methods, the adjacent products that are necessary in order to install that. There's a lot that goes into it.
So what are your biggest obstacles right now?
I would say the biggest obstacle is time. We have a lot of growth. We're experiencing a lot of growth now. My team is lean, which is critical when it comes to startup companies, and we are actively looking for more people to join the team, but with specific areas of expertise. And really just to be able to handle some of the growth that we're experiencing, to be able to really onboard the users the right way. And I would say, to be able to scale. That's really what it comes down to. That's a challenge that every startup company experiences, and we have awesome investors and a really awesome team, and we're experts in all of our individual domains, and we do a great job together.
So obstacles are getting more throughput and getting the, I guess, dimensions correct on all of the actual physical items that Renotag would suggest to someone. And then you said time. Do you mean like you need more time?
The throughput is not necessarily an obstacle for today. With Quick Estimator, you can get an accurate estimate for a project in seconds. I encourage everyone to try it out so they can experience it for themselves. Try it out.
That's my job. Let me do the endorsement. Go to renotag.com now and make sure to sign up and get your free renovation estimate now. Sorry, continue,
awesome.
Please.
The challenge is building products for the future. I do believe that in even 1 to 2 years from now, the way that we interface with our technology is going to radically shift, and we want to be able to be that. We want to be the leading train or the leading cart on that train, not the one in the back. So our challenge is more about how do we get this out there into as many people's hands as possible. And we want to do it for free. And the way that we're doing that today is we're working with brokerages like Vision Realty, because we believe that our message and our mission is in line with your mission. We want to be able to help you help your clients. And at the end of the day, we share the same end client, the homeowner. And the homeowner, about 70% of homes have some sort of home improvement before or after they are sold. And it's a perfect place to be, to work directly with the agents. And that really helps us make the product free, so we don't have to charge for it. And every agent out there, every realtor, we have a program that when we work with your brokerage, we actually give your entire brokerage access to it completely free, and you have premium access to it too, where you can make it really customizable. It goes directly onto your website, which is a great idea. You gave us that idea. And it's as simple as a couple clicks of a button. You have it ready, up and running on your site, the same way that you would have a mortgage calculator running on your site. You can now have a renovation calculator running, and provide as much value to your clients as possible.
Yeah. So I guess the reason why I'm grilling you on all these questions is because, I mean, on this podcast, I like to think about what I'd like to, I guess, listen to or hear if I was the listener. And I'm not always looking for just, a 45-minute long commercial about something. I kind of want to like dig down and know what's going on.
Sure.
And as a user myself, because I am an avid tech user and I'm very passionate about tech, and I love AI and all the new things that are coming out right now. I know that as a user myself, let alone everybody else out there, that I am super impatient. Like I want, you give me results yesterday. I don't want to really click too much. I don't want to really type too much.
Yeah.
I just want it to I want to jack into the matrix, like stick that thing into the back of my skull so it can just read my mind and just give me what I want and do it now. And that's kind of why I'm asking these questions, is because that's what everybody's really looking for. And and when people get frustrated with that, I think about how frustrated you must have been to even come up with this thing, because entrepreneurship is always, entrepreneurs solve problems. They solve problems because they're so frustrated with them that they just need to do something about it. So tell me about what frustrates you, because it can't just be that you want to help realtors. I mean, realtors are like let's just say that our optics are terrible and that our industry is not always looked upon very fondly. So we're a conduit to something. You're trying to solve a problem. You're trying to get to a consumer that has an issue. Did you have this issue? And that's what kind of like how this whole thing was born. Like, tell me about that.
I used to build houses. I was a builder for almost a decade. Um, Building homes and renovations are very different. When you build a house, um, as a business, I'm speaking about this as a business. I mean, the core work is generally similar, but when you're building a home, you are able to maintain your margin over a larger base of revenue. So you can make you can even make a smaller margin, but still be able to make money. And then the business itself is run on structure. And this is how you manage how you make money. And I just think backwards, like what happens in order for the operation to work to the point of making money. And really what it came down to is, how does the process look like? If you want to build a house, you need architectural plans, engineering plans, you need permits and drawings, and everything is planned. And before you start the project what that's going to look like. That is not the case in renovations. And when COVID hit, we moved our operation into renovation work. Why? Because with renovations, there are no drawings. It is completely up to a contractor to decide. There's no structure. It literally is, as a friend of mine called it, the Wild West. if there's an industry that's like that right now, it would be renovation work. And simply put, the contractor that comes into your property, or the designer, or even an architect, it is completely up to them what they think the price should be. There's no standard. There's no breakdown. It's like 17% of projects actually have a written, broken down, line by line itinerary of what's going in to the work. Like, that's crazy. And before construction, I came from, I have a business background. I was in management consulting, and it's like, whoa, everything just went from extreme structures to mid structures to no structure whatsoever. That bothered me. That made it very difficult for us to do our job as a renovation company, more so than how we would pass that to the client. What was necessary to fix that is, if I'm going to see 5 projects in a week, I need a way to be able to give 5 quotes in a week, and I need that quote to be as accurate as possible. How do you get it to that point? So most companies, they maintain some sort of price sheets on their own. That's what most companies do, but it's extremely expensive. It's expensive. A good estimator, a guy that does the project breakdowns and the pricing of it, they are anywhere from a good one would be 80 grand. Just a novice would be something like $60,000. That's the salary. So as a business, you need to factor that in, and you got to be seeing lots and lots and lots of jobs in order to even just break even on the cost of the estimator. So we needed to build a system for ourselves on the way that we price out these projects. So I have a little bit of a computer science a background. I wouldn't even call it a background. It's just a hobby of mine. And I built the first engine, and I used our internal numbers, and I manually went on to different sites, and I called suppliers, and I combined a bunch of information together from our sheets and their sheets, and we created a very simple, very basic version of what Renotag is today. And it worked. We were using it every single day. We would just price out a project in literally a couple of seconds, and the clients' faces were just, the result was awesome, because I would walk into a house, or one of our head of sales would walk into a house, and by the time they're done that site visit, they already have a base price point for the project, and the homeowner was just ecstatic. It would help us win the project. And it was a beautiful thing. It made me realize that this is a bigger problem. I should investigate. And I did. And I called a bunch of the companies that I worked with, and I asked them how they're doing their estimation. And they told me it's 3 hours of my time after hours instead of spending it with my family. That's what is necessary to make a project estimate today. And that is also why you as a homeowner get a different price point every single time. There's no standard. There's no base. and the contractor needs to do the heavy lifting. They go and research and reference and figure it all out, and you end up with
so they go and they research and they reference, but they also mark up.
yes.
And when they do mark up, let's say that markup in their eyes of what they need to make it work is different than what Renotag puts up. How do you rectify that? How do you justify to a contractor that this is a good tool for them?
We don't reconcile and we don't manage another person's business. We provide the estimate to the person that is getting the project done. That's what we want to provide. If you were to call a contractor to your home today, and it's kind of where we started. It's like, I'm going to get a quote for my project. What do I do? I need, like, how do I get my quote? Well, I go on Google. I
fill out a form.
I fill out a form. I call a friend. I get my friend to send me a person that they've worked with before.
Right.
Then I'm going to have like 5 different quotes, and one of them is going to be saying one thing, another one's going to say another thing, and then the prices are similar, but there's big discrepancies at certain points. Like, why is that? It's because, to be completely honest, most contractors don't know exactly what it's going to come out to. Renovations are not that simple to price. You don't price a renovation by a fixed input and output, because most of the time you pay a person a salary, or even if you don't pay them a salary, well, salary would be optimal. In the new construction times, you do salary based work. But when it comes to renovation work, it's, if you're getting a specific guy to do a specific task, he will either charge you for the project individually, like a tiler would, and tilers make a lot of money. They're one of the highest paid sub-trades in construction. Funny enough, they're on par with like a licensed plumber or electrician, and which is like $80 an hour as a starting point. But there's no base, so you need to have your own pricing sheets before you go out and you sub things out, or you are going to do all the work and you just throw a number out there in terms of how long you think it's going to take and what you think you should be paid for this job. And the reality is that that's not how it should be. Most of the time, the inputs to a project are fixed. It's the last thing that you said, which is the markup, or how much do I think I can make on this project, where the discrepancy comes into play. And that's where a lot of the times there are problems. That's why there's really low levels of trust in this space, and there are no transparency, and why companies will batch everything together into one price point. The less information they provide to you, the less information you have to argue on the price. And that's just the reality. But it wasn't like this before, because you knew that you could get a general price point and that would be accurate and it would be similar to who you work with. But now, with more information accessible to your fingertips, a contractor can't make money on the materials. They can't make money on that. They can only make money on the supply end, only on the installation. And that's why you see big variables. But that's not necessarily the case. There's an industry rate for what a tiler should be, an industry rate for what a general laborer should be. And certain types of work have certain types of outputs and inputs. And to be completely honest, construction is a commodity. It's not some crazy mystical thing. It's, here's what I need to do, here's what the output should look like, and then the variables become a matter of what you want done, like the small things.
Well, I was almost thinking that, this is the cynic in me talking, that, yeah, of course, people are going to try to mark up materials and things like that. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't it be that if you're a contractor, you're working in the industry, you're buying things in batch, you're buying things in bulk, it shouldn't be the standard consumer price that you would walk into Home Depot and get. It should be, if anything, it should be cheaper.
It should be. A good contractor would they would pass on certain savings to you, or they would make a recommendation for a specific type of, I don't know, a wood to use for your floor, right? Or a vinyl or engineered hardwood to use for your floor. They would make that recommendation. Or they have a specific supplier they work with where they can save you a couple bucks. But that's not in the best interest of a contractor. Renotag is not in the best interest of a contractor. The best interest of a contractor of today is to try to give you as little information as possible so that they can maintain their business. I'll make it a little more clear. The business of general contracting is one where you sub out to specific types of work and you make the spread in between.
Yeah, you're project manager.
You're a project manager. That as a business is what we are trying to replace. We will replace it. And it will be replaced, not just by Renotag, but by other companies that will spin up in this place, in this industry. The goal is to make the homeowner the hero. The homeowner should have all the information at their fingertips, but a lot of information creates overload, and our mission is to make it as simple as possible. We do that. We bring that trust and transparency by helping you. We recommend what product you should use here, or here's an average product that you could use as a tile for this floor. And the more we work with other suppliers, the more information we get into the system, the better our algorithms become over time, the better the system becomes. And really that goal of, hey, I want to renovate my kitchen, and snap a picture, do a quick scan with your phone, or hopefully the Apple glasses take off, because I really want that. I think that would be a cool product. Then it makes things simple. It brings really what the renovation industry should be into the 21st or maybe the 22nd century, right? That's where it should be. Although it's not there yet. It's still back in like the 1800s in some ways. Yeah.
So you're a disruptor.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes disruptors, just playing devil's advocate here,
Sure.
can cost people their jobs.
I don't think that's the case. When there's a disruptive technology, the jobs that it replaces were not necessarily important jobs in the first place. Those are jobs that we knew to be honest, things like data entry are automatable. You can do it today if you're a big company and you can afford to build custom systems. But what this new technology does is it gives the same tools that the big companies have into the hands of everybody, into the hands of smaller companies, or just the general homeowner, for example. So now you have the same access to the same information with the same resources as what the big companies did. And that removes the arbitrage, and it makes it it increases the difficulty for a larger company to make as much money off this. And therefore, the need for a specific type of person in a specific type of role is replaced. That doesn't mean that it's removed. When people could now get around by car instead of by buggy and horse, the entire world changed, because now you have access to a lot more. You're not stuck in a specific region. And the same way that Amazon technically disrupts Walmart, because Walmart is big box change, but Amazon makes it so you can buy things online and it comes right to your door. Those companies make jobs. They don't remove them, because the type of work that's necessary changes. Like, you don't see chimney cleaners anymore as a job, but you do see people that are in trades. That's a job. And frankly, as the world progresses and technology gets better in different areas, different types of jobs will become predominantly available. It won't be, it's not about replacing, it's about changing, improving, and making our lifestyles better.
So creating more transparency in the marketplace, which inevitably creates, in a sense, more friction on arbitrage.
Yeah.
You're saying that we will decentralize the marketplace for this kind of thing more and more, which brings more power back to the consumer, and that will essentially balance what has been for all of time an imbalanced practice of renovations. Did I say that right?
It's a good summary. It's a good summary. Yeah. I also think that the way that we think about renovations will change as well. Where if it can be personalized, maybe there's another type of work that can be done. Maybe the way that we look at a renovation in the way that we define it today will be different as well. we'll see.
Sounds super interesting. Well, I think we should cut it there because number one, I'm hungry and we're grabbing lunch after this. And also it's going to be a lot to edit. So thanks so much for coming in, David. Really, really appreciate your time. Everybody, I'm a big fan. I know I just grilled him a bit, but I'm a huge fan of what he's doing. Renotag.com. You can get a free estimate for renovating any part of your home instantly. It's just a really cool platform. I'm going to definitely be having it on my website. And for any realtors who are watching this, definitely grab the widget, put it on your website too. Thanks so much for coming in, David.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, and give us a review.